public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign a sheet at the table in the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for each application is, after each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone at the front of the room, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applications tonight, I'm asking that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present information on their application other than questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal by the applicant will also be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all of the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. Bob Wadle, to my immediate left. Donna Collada, and Mike Kapp, and Russell Heisey, and my name is Fred Gellerup, and our zoning administrator is Mrs. Pluckstad. Was that all right?
That's fine.
Sounded good to me.
You made it through it.
Doing good, Fred.
Good job, Fred.
Oh, no. Do I do this?
We're going to hire you.
Following items will be considered by the Washoe County Planning and Zoning Committee tonight. First application is a conditional use. Richard and Eileen Dienline, Jefferson, Wisconsin, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, parens 18, and 58-454, parens 31, to the Washoe County Zoning Code to store a 2013 Keystone, Montana 37.5-foot travel trailer in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 15.49 acre parcel of land, being the south 1/2 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4, less certified survey maps numbers 639 and 490304, section 20, Town of Leon, County Road E. Is the applicant present? Would you come up, please, and state your name and speak into that microphone?
I'm Richard Dienline. Need a point of clarification on that application. It was never our intention to ever store that unit on that property. applying for this conditional use permit is so if we are ever on that property with it, and we need to leave it there for overnight to take care of some family business, my mother's 92 years old, I'm dealing with her, that we're not violating a zoning ordinance by doing that. I was told when we bought property here that if we ever wanted to bring a travel trailer, which this is not, by the way, it's a fifth wheel recreational vehicle, that we were not allowed to leave it there if we're not occupying it. So that's the reason that we applied for this in the first place, just so we would be in compliance with the zoning rules. Also, you stated it was on, excuse me, on County E, but it's County EE. Okay,
Thank you. I missed the second E somehow or another.
no problem.
I got it.
Any other questions?
Yep, I'm sure there'll be some questions. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, or?
I don't believe so at this time, no.
Please come back. There will be some committee questions.
We've got a few questions we have to
Sure.
ask you. Has there been a recent survey done of the property?
Not to the best of my knowledge,
Okay. Do you know where your lot lines are?
yes. All lot lines are marked with stakes.
Okay. Have you talked to the town board about this
I have,
proposal?
I've sent a letter to the town board. I talked to, Mr. Sorensen on the phone, and I sent him a letter stating what our intention is and the reason why we're doing this and so forth.
Have you talked to the next door neighbors about this?
I did talk to the two adjoining on the road front there, yes,
Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy?
absolutely.
Okay, if you leave the trailer there, will it be at least 100 feet from all lot lines?
Oh, yes, well over that,
Is there running water out there?
yes.
What type of sanitary facilities are you planning if you have to leave it there?
We had a septic system installed 2 years ago, I believe.
So it could hook up to that.
Yes, it's all set up for full hookup there.
Okay. Are there any other buildings or structures being planned at this time?
Nope,
You said you stated earlier, just leave it there for emergencies and family matters and that.
is correct.
How often and how long do you guess that this might be? A week, 10 days?
Well, you say my mother's 92 years old.
Yeah.
If we have to leave it there, it wouldn't be for more than 2 or 3 days at a time.
Then you'd-
Hopefully not more than an overnight, because it's only 90 miles from here to,
Then you'd take it back with you?
yes, if we had to leave it longer.
How-
Unless we are allowed a conditional use permit, so we can't leave it there.
How often do you visit the property?
Oh, we like to spend holiday weekends up here if we can. Probably on the average, maybe twice a month.
All year round, or just? in
No,
the-
no, just in the summer months. We're full-time RVers, so we do a lot of traveling. But we do like to come back here on like holiday weekends when we don't want to be on the road or something like that. We like to spend time here and attend local events and support the local economy a little too.
Are there any other similar trailers in the area that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Is a new driveway needed, or are you gonna use
Oh,
the,
there's an existing driveway that was there when we bought the property.
is this property in the managed forest law?
No,
Do you have a uniform property address number yet?
no, we do not, which is another reason we're applying for this, is so that we might get one.
Okay.
They told us we would get one if we,
When we were out there, there was another number by the driveway. Do you know what that's?
yes, that's kind of confusing. That number, as we understand it, is for the property directly behind ours. There's an easement along one side of our property, and there's, I believe, two brothers from Oshkosh or Appleton or somewhere that own that property. It's 120 acres.
So you have to let them go through yours to get to there?
Well, they have their own easement along the side of the property, so it's,
So that's what that number that we
that's
saw?
what we understand, although when we get an electric bill from Adams Columbia Electric, they use that number as a description of our property.
So
So it's, I don't know where they got it.
that'll have to be changed.
I don't know. Well, like I say, I think that's theirs,
Okay.
not our number, but
Okay, if the approval was granted, when would you first put the trailer out there? Or when would you put the trailer there? Any
Well,
idea?
it would probably be the next time we want to come up here for a visit, which probably wouldn't be until after the sale of our house in Jefferson is completed.
Okay.
End of August.
that's all,
Plus, it's going to be our home, so.
that's all the questions I have, unless the other committee members have some questions.
You mentioned you have an electric bill. Do you have a building or something there that you'd have electricity there for?
When we bought the property, the previous owner had electric and a phone line run in there. And he built a little 4x8 shed, and he's got the well pump control in there and a few electrical outlets and things. And the electric meter is on that little 4x8 shed, which we have since covered with steel because it was only going to be temporary for him. Because he was planning on building a house there, and then unfortunately they got divorced, and that's why we sold the property.
You hook your trailer up to the electricity
Yes.
then? So you're using it just for that?
Is that all the questions? Okay, you could be seated. Do we have correspondence?
Yes, we have one letter from the town board we received on July 20th. It's addressed to me, and it says, "This is to inform you that at the July 13th, 2016 meeting, the Town of Leon Board read letter request from Richard and Eileen Deinlein regarding application for a conditional use permit for placing a travel trailer on the south one half and the northeast one quarter of the southwest one quarter, less certified survey map 639 and 4904, Section 20, County Road EE. The board discussed additional issues that may arise from starting to allow this in the township. No residents appeared at the meeting to object to the permit. I write on behalf of the Town of Leon Board to inform you that the board unanimously voted to deny this permit. If you have any questions, you can reach me at this number, and it's signed, "Thank you sincerely, Lisa Sorensen, Clerk." And that's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak.
No one registered to speak, so we're going on to staff comments.
Ask him if he's got any extra.
Oh.
After the staff comments.
Sorry.
So, for the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. And I'd like to take this time to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones in our county that are zoned, all the defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, such as building a home in the residential zone or having a barn and farm animals in the agricultural zone. In addition, there are uses that may be permitted provided certain conditions are met, and they're listed in the conditional use section of the ordinance. And that's what we're looking at here, a use that may be permitted provided that certain parameters can be complied with, so the use remains in keeping with the surrounding area and the uses that those people have that are permitted. Some examples of these are a dog kennel in the ag zone, unoccupied storage of a travel trailer that we're looking at here on vacant property, gravel pits in the ag zone, home-based businesses in our rural area. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits. And it is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and the area that it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure that it will be a good neighbor to its surrounding property owners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the unit is well off the road and does not appear to be visible from the public road or neighboring properties. The property already has a well and septic for sanitation needs. The site is very secluded, and that the property is wooded with evergreens, so visibility or noise should not be an issue regardless of the season. A conditional use permit is not suited to all locations. But may be allowed in some locations if it meets the specific conditions set out in the zoning code and is not contradictory to the ordinance's general purpose statement. So those are the two things that the committee should be looking at. The conditions placed on it will help ensure that it remains in keeping with the surrounding properties and are generally related to site suitability and compatibility with those neighboring land uses, sometimes due to noise, odor, traffic, other factors like that. A conditional use for the unoccupied storage of a travel trailer is listed in the Waushara County Code in the General Agricultural Zoning District. The units must be kept licensed and roadworthy with no additions or attachments. They do remain movable, if they need to be hauled out of there, they do need to go out. They must have suitable sanitary facilities. They must be located at least 100 feet off public roads and all lot lines, and generally should not be visible from public roads or neighboring properties. If approved, our office annually inspects these trailers And there's about 75 of them around the county, so that we can ensure that all of those conditions of approval are complied with even as time goes by. We do have 75 in the county, and we have 5 that are already approved in the town of Leon. We really don't have a lot of complaints about these. You know, I do need to tell you that, you know, generally these are not the kind of use that generates neighbor complaints. I can't think of any that we've had recently, and of course, if we do get a complaint, we're going to follow up on it right away. While the decision to grant or deny a conditional use permit is discretionary, a permit should only be denied if the project cannot be tailored to the site to meet the specific conditional use standards and general purposes of the ordinance. In this case, I feel the applicant has met all those standards and that this application should be approved despite the town's objection. If anything, I think we should approach the town, or maybe the town should approach us and see if there's something that they feel we should change in the code so that they become more compatible. You know, I don't know what their specific concern is, and I think if there is a specific concern, maybe we can figure out what it is and maybe change some of the conditions or suggest modifications to those conditions so that we can make this acceptable. But in this case, I think the applicant has met all of those requirements, and because you meet those, it's a conditional use permit, it should be granted. That's it. Yes.
If the applicant has a rebuttal, you may come forward and speak to it. Nothing? Okay, sure. So that's all of that?
That one. So we're on this one.
Got it. The second application is an application by Chris and Dawn Grow, Mayville, Wisconsin. They have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, parens 18, and 58-454, parens 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 2002 Jayco 17-foot travel trailer in the AG agricultural zone, approximate 20-acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 2428, being part of the Northeast 1/4, Section 10, Town of Coloma, W13097, Cottonville Avenue. Applicant here, please. Would you state your name and speak
Chris
into the
Grow.
mic? You want to?
Want to tell the committee anything about it, or just
It's
want to?
just a place to stay when we're up here. We're clearing a site for the house we want to build. Not next year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years down the road. So it's doing work at the site. Family gatherings on holiday weekends, stuff like that. We live in Mayville, so rather than drag it back and forth, it's easier to just leave it there.
Okay, we got a few questions for you. Has there been a recent survey done of the property?
Not recently, but that's on my agenda for like next year. I want to get it recertified.
Okay, you do know where the lot lines are, though? Okay. Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy? Okay. Will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all lot lines? Okay. Are you planning on having running water out there?
No. The running water won't come until the house is being built.
What type of sanitary facilities are you planning or do you have?
We have a porta potty on site right now.
Are there any other buildings or structures that are being planned at this time?
I got a 10 by 12 building on the site, but other than that, no.
That's the storage shed?
The storage shed, correct. The only other thing that I'm thinking about, which I don't think it'll happen this year, but I would like to put up a 20 by 30 pole type shed, but that won't happen this year anymore.
That's something you'd have to check back with zoning again.
Correct.
Okay, are there other similar travel trailers in the area that you know of?
I've seen one that I know of. It's closer to town, but as far as I know, that's about the only one.
Okay. Is a driveway needed other than the one that you've got in there where we went in?
No, I'm gonna continue that driveway as I'm working up there, but that's the new driveway that I put in.
It looked like it was fairly new, when we went in there, we jumped over the gate to
You
look at it.
didn't. That's why they're bent down.
That's why Fred sat on it, that's why it's sagging.
Right?
Fred couldn't make it, he's a little older, so he sat on it, and
There you go.
Took a running jump and vaulted over it.
is the property in managed forest law?
No.
You do have a uniform number out there,
Yes, I do.
and that's current,
That's the,
the one
Yep.
they give you, okay. If an approval is granted, when would you move the trailer in or the trailer be placed?
midnight.
Midnight tonight. That's quick, that's quick. Okay, that's all the questions I have, unless the committee has some.
I'm just curious, we saw some big bundles of things stacked off to the one side up there.
That's cut and split firewood.
Okay.
I had to do something with all the trees I'm taking down, so I cut and split the firewood.
I think you mean those containers,
Yeah,
don't you?
they look like containers to
Yeah.
me.
Those plastic containers,
Plastic containers.
putting firewood in there.
Apparently you've seen my skid loader, so I use that to move them around, and I don't have a big pile of firewood out now.
Nice, yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna leave till I found out.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I think that's it. You can have a seat. There is one letter from the town board, addressed to the Waushara County Planning Committee regarding Kristen Dawn Grow. The town of Coloma has reviewed the Grows property at W13097 Cottonville Avenue, town of Coloma. The town of Coloma has no objections to the conditional use that the Grows are applying for. The town wishes the Shanebergers the best of luck on their new project. I don't know what that has to do with any application, but it's on here, so I thought I should read it. And that's sincerely Mark Kirschner,
You'll
town
have
of
to talk to
Coloma.
Mark about that.
I don't know what that means, but
Anybody speak?
maybe it's a form letter and they just didn't change the name, but. And no one's registered to speak.
You have some comments you would like to make?
Sure. Again, this is a very similar application to the last one. So it's a conditional use permit. It's the applicant's responsibility to provide the proof that they are going to remain in keeping with the surrounding uses and area if they meet all the conditions in the zoning code and any extra conditions that the Planning and Zoning Committee may put on them. And when the committee visited the property, they noted that the unit does not appear it will be visible from the road in any season. The property has a porta potty on it already, and the property already has a fire number. So this one appears to be fairly straightforward.
Is there a rebuttal from the applicant? No, okay. So that terminates that, huh? And the next applicant is application for a zone change. Trent Schloss. Neenah, Wisconsin has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138, 58-236, parents 18, and 58-454, parents 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from AR Agricultural Residential to AG3 General Agriculture, 3-acre minimum, to conditionally allow a long-term storage of a 1991 Prowler 22-foot travel trailer. Location an approximate 40-acre parcel of land known as lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of certified survey map 4578, being the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4, section 10, town of Richford, Cottonville Avenue.
Thanks for hearing me tonight. The property, a lot of people seem to be pretty familiar with it, is the old Kirk property. when they put it up for sale, they were hoping for better marketing on it, so they had converted it to residential at that time. I'm just requesting that it goes back to the Ag 3, similar to the surrounding properties in that area. If you take a look at the proposed site plan, if you look at one of the 10-acre parcels, the border to the east, the travel trailer would not be 100 feet from that. Yesterday at the inspection, conversation was made about that. You had indicated whether we'd be accepting of joining those parcels together. I would be open to that. Another thing that I thought of would be if we could make as part of the conditional use permit, maybe not join them, but just make the fact that no other travel trailer could be placed on that 10 acres, and that if that property were ever to be sold, conditional use permits terminated at that time. I don't know if that's an option or not.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
We got a few questions for you, Trent. Has there been a recent survey done of the property?
2000. The corners are all staked. They are present.
So you do know where lot lines are. It appears that you will need to combine parcels to meet the setbacks. Do you plan on having a survey to combine the parcel if this is approved?
I would hope not to. If it has to be, we can certainly do that. Hopefully, maybe the option that I brought up would be feasible.
It appears that you purchased 60 acres and now wish to have a zone change from ag residential to general ag to store a travel trailer on a portion of property that is currently zoned agricultural residential. Is that true?
Correct, yes. The agricultural designation to me is more fitting with what my family intends to do on the property. We intend to manage it for forestry and wildlife habitat. It is not our intent at all to make that a residential area.
Do you need to change the zoning on the entire property or just the westerly 40, the 4 10-acre parcels?
I would be looking for the committee's direction on that. It would be my preference to just change all 4 parcels to the Ag 3 and just keep it consistent with the surroundings.
Just those 40 acres or the other 20 also?
The other 20 is already zoned the Ag 3. Yes.
Sorry. The other surrounding lands are currently zoned ag, is that correct?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
The trailer that you're gonna be placing there, is it licensed and roadworthy?
It is.
Okay, you kinda talked about it, but the trailer will be 100 feet from the lot lines except that last
Yes,
one.
in excess of 100. And if you look at our total surroundings, it's
You
quite a
own-
long ways from that.
But you do own the adjoining 20 acres that is, will there be running water out there?
There will not be. We will be transporting that
Carrying
in
it?
as needed.
What type of sanitary facilities are you planning for when you have the trailer out there?
We have a porta potty purchased. If the application goes through, we plan on putting that out there, and I've indicated on the site plan where we would like to put that so that it's serviceable. And
Okay.
I've contacted pumping company out of Wautoma about taking care of that.
Are there other trailers in the area similar to your situation that you know of?
Similar might be a little bit different. My understanding is there's a travel trailer to the directly to the west of my property. There are occasionally travel trailers brought up on Cree Avenue. I don't believe those are under a conditional use permit, but they're occasionally brought up, and I'm familiar with others that are in the town.
Have you talked to the town board about this application? The committee noted that the current driveway location is in a kind of a questionable spot. Are you able to move it further west as discussed by the town board and the committee that was out there for a safer route for you and the public?
I'm able to. I would like not to, but if that's part of the condition, we'll do what we have to appease everyone. It's been brought up that traffic is apparently place, but if I'm gonna move the driveway up to the top to try and do the best I can for safety, is it possible for that road then to be marked for speed?
It'd have to be town board, brought to the town board, but we'd certainly probably look at that issue.
Just to help facilitate, on both ends?
Not that anybody will read the signs, but we
Going
can put
too
the signs
fast.
up there whether they abide by them or not is this property in the managed forest law?
It is not.
You do not have a uniform numbering address that I know of.
I do not.
If an approval is granted, when would you have the trailer out there?
The earliest that we'd be looking is, very late August, early September.
That's all the questions I have of the committee.
We're all done? Okay. Do we have any correspondence? Yeah, you can sit down, Fran.
Yes, we do. We have a letter from the town board. At the meeting of July 6, 2016, the Town of Richford Town Board reviewed the following request and expressed no opposition. And there's another variance that that the other committee's going to consider tonight. But on this one, Trent Sloss zone change, I can't talk, from AG residential to general ag, the board did speak with Mr. Schloss and suggested he move a recently installed drive to a higher area for safety purposes. And that's signed Julia Staler, Clerk, Town of Richford. And that's it for correspondence.
So, rebuttal? Do you have any? I get to talk. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Free.
That was your own fault.
So we have
Fred's in a hurry to get out.
we have one more conditional use permit for a travel trailer, but this one's a little unique in that we have a zone change from AR, Ag Residential, to AG, General Agricultural. And the reason that it went to AR in the first place is our subdivision code requires that if you create more than 2 parcels of less than 15 acres in a 10-year period, you have to have a residential zoning designation. So when Kirk Company wanted to develop this property, they had to go to the Ag Residential. The Ag Residential does not accommodate the unoccupied storage of a travel trailer, so now you're looking to go back, and you have purchased all of it. So there is a zone change with the conditional use kind of wrapped up in it. Good news is you're already very familiar with the conditional use for travel trailers, so I shouldn't have to talk about that very much. Zone changes, you do need to remember, are permanent changes to the property, and they all have defined permitted uses and conditional uses. And so it's that conditional use part that's causing problems for the Schlosses to place their travel trailer. But because it is such a permanent change, the review standards are a little bit higher. And applications for zone changes are actually reviewed by 3 bodies. The first step is tonight at the public hearing, and the Planning and Zoning Committee will then make a recommendation on the application after the public hearing. Then we'll go to the full County Board of Supervisors, and the County Board of Supervisors will also act on it. And then the town board will review the application. And in order to change the zoning on the property, the application must be approved at all 3 levels of review, from committee to county board to town board. I'd also like to explain a little bit about the conditional use, I guess, a little more. And that is that you can only place a travel trailer on parcels that are more than 10 acres. And we always look at the net acreage. And the lot that this particular travel trailer is on is not quite 10 acres net. It is over 10 acres if you include the road right-of-way, but it is not over 10 acres when you take out the road right-of-way, and easements is how we look at it. So for that reason alone, I think it should be combined with another lot. And also, it takes care of the issue with it not meeting the setback from the lot line. It's my opinion, and it may not even be legal to do a permit that has a sunset on it. So the option of saying that you can do this, but it has to cease at this time in the future, first of all, it would be a regulatory nightmare, because I don't know how we'd ever know if you did something, and would have to, take the trailer off. That would be difficult. But it also is probably not quite legal to do it that way. You either get the permit or you don't. You can't have some strings on it. You can have conditions, but strings like that don't work. So when the committee visited the property, they noted that the unit will be fairly well hidden from the road. They also felt that the driveway should be located to the west at the top of a small hill to enhance visibility and, safety of both the landowner and the traveling public. Placement of the trailer would require an address number, and they also noted that the surrounding lands are all zone general ag and have ag uses. And that's it for my comments.
Okay. Now, any rebuttal?
Sounds like we need to keep things simple and put both those parcels together, so
That's it.
Okay. That concludes the applications heard by this committee tonight. So what we will do is adjourn to another room right down the hall, first door to the right, and we will have business meeting.
And anyone that has a conditional use can go in and hear them deliberate and make their decision if you want.
They're crying out loud.
I gotta remember to take my wallet.
Well, I'd pick that up for you, Fred. It's probably empty.
Move on, huh? Okay, I'll tell him.
We had to drive up in a car.
Yeah, I'll let him know, thank you. 35, huh? Oh, boy, you'll have to.
I know Rick has.
Yeah.
They yell at Roger all the time because
They
they can't
do.
hear him, so.
Yes, I know, I've heard that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I should have announced that.
I'll call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant outside of committee questions and 3 minutes for testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now I introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, Kevin Fitzgerald, John Zirk, and John Benz. My name is Roger Wagner. Terry Pukstad, zoning administrator, is to my right. First variance to be heard tonight, Carrie Wagner, Ripon, Wisconsin. Robert and Barbara Semro, Coloma, Wisconsin landowner, made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 18D of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a travel trailer previously permitted conditional use permit number 4-16 to come within 62 feet of the northerly lot line, 100-foot setback required in the AG General Agricultural 3-acre minimum zone within the shoreland area. Location: an approximate 29.33 acre parcel of land being part of the northeast 1/4, the northwest 1/4, section 33, town of Richford, N 495, County Road B. Is the applicant here? Come forward, please, and state your name for the record. Sure.
My name is Carrie Wagner.
Ripon, Wisconsin, 610 Congress Street.
And do you have the landowner here?
Yes.
Robert Summerall from N559 County Road B,
Okay.
Coloma.
Do you have anything further to state at this time, or we have some general questions if you don't have anything to add?
I guess the biggest thing that came up is when they come back and said where they wanted to move or where they had to go with this. It's going to put the travel trailer and that right in a wooded area. And this was prone to fire danger and whatever, because where it is now, it's in an open area that has been trimmed and maintained since 1973 when my dad's trailer was parked where the travel trailer is now. And this, it has a permanent driveway in from County Trunk B. And the landowners that are adjoining this, that has a driveway only going parallel to my property, going to their lot, a quarter of a mile back off of B in the woods back in there. And they have stated that they would rather see it right where it's at, because they had hoped that where Dad's trailer stood was moved in after they moved in the back or bought that property back there. And we're looking, because they do their cooking and everything, and it's all out in this maintained, you probably saw the property out there where it's all open and maintained and where the fire area is. And I'm also, I guess, a little more concerned about this fire thing, because from 1959 till for 4.5 years I run a cat and plow for DNR fire control, so I'm kind of a little bit prone to knowing what the fire is. And we just had a fire down the road from us that took 15 acres out just into Marquette County. Well, just some burning some stuff there, so I'm kind of hoping that if it stays into the area of where it is, and that's my main concern, of the safety of the pine trees and everything else that's in this woods right in there.
Okay. Just a few general questions then. I don't know who wants to answer them, but has there been a recent survey out there?
So,
No? Do you know where the property lines are?
yes,
And as far as the north one, the Jones property, you know exactly where that is?
yes,
Okay. And right now, you're 62 feet from that line, is that correct?
well, that's where they had a flag to put it. It's parked closer to the lot line right now, yeah.
It can be moved further back, and that's what we were looking for, just a little further back from where it was. We can actually, I mowed the lawn. It took me like 45 minutes to mow the weeds. It's easier for me to move that camper further behind, and at the 62 feet, we will still be behind trees. The road will not be, or the camper will not be visible from the road, but we will not have to saw down mature wood, mature trees, completely make a new driveway to where the camper would have to go at the 100 feet. We'd have to put in a whole new driveway. If we were to try to put the camper all the way back into the wooded area at the 100 feet, we'd have to put in a new driveway. We can never get the camper in. We'd have to go from his crop field into a woods, because we'd never get it backed in far enough where it is right now in 100 feet. We'd have to create a whole new driveway.
It would only be 38 feet more.
Where it's at right now is not the 62. Where it's at right now is not 62. I would have to,
We saw some flags there, though. It's not a lot further from the lot line than it is now.
but at the 62, it's doable. At the 100 feet, then I have to cut down mature trees in a woods to get it back there. And we still want to be able to move this camper in and out. And if we get it in, we're afraid we'll never get it out without damaging everything underneath the camper, everything.
Have you talked to the neighbors in the town board about this? And their response?
I did not hear back from Mr. Waddle. I did send him a letter. I did speak with him on the phone, and he was going to bring it up to the township.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
He has a small storage shed just to put our stuff in, but that's back in, hid in there where they figured they could carry that stuff back through the woods where they can't move, can't carry the travel trailer.
Okay. And all of their setbacks will be met then according to, okay.
Yeah, that's farther back in. That would
That's
probably even
farther.
be at the 100-foot mark already on that one.
Are there any wetlands on the property?
No.
You've pretty much explained why you can't move it back because of mature trees, is that correct?
The trees and also where the field goes right along the edge of the woods in there. Then we'd have to cut one way or the other to get back in there to keep, to bring it out so that they can drain it and winterize it and stuff. They'd
Okay.
be moving it twice a year.
The physical limitations on the property that prevent you from going back are the trees then, you're saying?
Mostly the trees, yes. Trees and some,
And your crops.
whatever the crops that are planted there.
Okay. Are you aware that variances can only be granted when setbacks for permitted use cannot be met?
I do understand, but many times variances are granted because you ask, and so we are asking that to disrupt part of cutting down mature trees when we have a simpler fix to just move it back a little bit farther instead of going the full 100 feet, cutting down mature trees in a mature woods. It's much easier. There is nobody there that bothers us. The neighbor whose driveway is there, he's there twice a year. He's 80 or 90 years old. He was there when this is right where my grandfather's house was. It never bothered them that he had a house there. He doesn't, I have the letter from him here. He did not care. His words were, placing the camper in the general location to where George Zemro's trailer was is in the past, there's no objection to it. So we have no objection from the neighbor, and I have no objection from my uncle, and we're just trying to not cut down an entire woods, just because we want to come and visit my uncle twice a month. I come up in the camper to visit them twice a month, and that's all this is just a visit. I have friends and family that live in Richford, and that's the purpose. And it is a lot of work, it's a hardship to have to try and cut down all these trees, lose his crops. We already damaged part of his field going through it just trying to put a shed in. So I'm afraid of what will happen if we move the camper.
Have you considered any other options, such as taking the unit back and forth with you as you use the property? Or parking it at?
We have the permit, so we'll do what we have to do. I already have the permit, the conditional use permit.
Okay. So you're saying the hardship and what makes this unique is that you'd have to cut some trees?
And also where it gets a little bit was with the fire safety from where the cooking, that they do all their weekend cooking and everything on an open fire out there.
It's on a gravel base, so the cooking that we do is on a gravel base instead of a meat.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
You said you had a designated driveway already
Yes,
there?
This driveway's been in there since around 1972 to 73. Somewhere in there when it was, Grandpa's,
But you said that part of the physical limitations of the property are the crops. Why would the crops that you plant hold you back from using the driveway that's there? Why would the crops be destroyed?
as of present, we're using the driveway what's there. But once we go back over to the side, now she wants, every time when they want to get it in and out, then we would end up moving something around, we'd have to shift something around. As presently, we're using the original one that was there in 72 or 73 that was built. And that's strip has always been mowed and maintained. I left it that way because they were all talking about bringing their camper out. And for a few years, they just had a little pop-up camper which they towed around.
What's the size of that trailer? And how many, where it sits now, how many feet is it from the Jones's easement or the property line there?
Right now, it's about 20 feet right now, maybe.
Thank you.
You guys heard from the previous committee that all the applications they were dealing with had to do with travel trailers, and each one of them was more than 100 feet from property lines, which is exactly what was approved by that committee for you folks at one of their last meetings. So you've gotten a notice that that's the laws of their county, and that's what the trailers are supposed to be, at least 100 feet from lot lines. And the committee told you that they're shieldily located so that they're not visible from neighboring properties or the public road. So you know all this stuff yet, and it's fine that you're making an application, but it would be something that would be a precedent that we'd be setting if we would approve it, but just want to let you know that.
I'd say one of the main reasons is the fire safety for one thing. And also I'm looking at because now I'm the third generation there, it's the fifth generation is already camped out there.
Oh, you guys.
And this is just a family affair, basically. It's nothing else, and it is neat. All there's out there is a camper trailer and a picnic table and the fire. Yeah, you probably saw that.
Yeah.
The other
And-
thing is we didn't get our letter from Mr. Jones until after our first committee meeting, so we couldn't bring this into the whole picture until that time. But when we spoke with him,
You can give these fellows that
they
copy.
have a copy.
We'll be reading the letter.
I got something more home that you can have.
Okay, thank you. Any correspondence?
Yes, we have a letter from the town of Richford. It says, at the meeting of July 6, 2016, the town of Richford Town Board reviewed the following requests and expressed no opposition. And it says Carrie Wagner variance requesting a travel trailer come within 62 feet of a setback. And that's signed Julia Staler, clerk, town of Richford. And we also have that letter from the Joneses. It's dated April 25th, 2016. Addressed to the Waushara County Zoning Office. Edward and Patricia Jones have no objection to Carrie Wagner placing her camper in the general location to where George Semrose trailer was in the past. And that's signed Edward and Patricia Jones from Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. That's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments, please.
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. They also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. This time I would like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include, number one, that the code is unnecessarily burdensome and that the landowner is not able to enact a permitted use without a relaxation of the dimensional standard. Number two, there are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standard. And three, if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, convenience, a growing family, nearby violations, none of these can be considered as a valid reason to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that the travel trailer is already placed, but it does not appear to meet setbacks. It is highly visible from the road, and they also noted that the lot line to the north was not marked, so they weren't sure exactly where it was. I think this is a case that if you look at this single application on the surface, it appears that no real harm will be done by the granting of this variance. However, if you look at this from the aspect that we have about 75 other travel trailers around the county that have circumstances that are really no more difficult than this property, and they still manage to meet the setbacks, then I think it becomes a matter of setting a precedent. And it could cause harm to the zoning code as we look at other travel trailers that ask to have a lesser setback for convenience purposes. Also, you need to remember that conditional use permits are granted when the land use meets all of the conditions in the code, and in this case, it is not meeting one of those conditions. It doesn't appear to have unique property features to me that would preclude them from meeting those conditions. You know, they could cut a couple trees down and have it meet the setbacks. It wouldn't be visible from the road. It would meet the intent of the code as having those conditions in it. And the last thing I guess I would point out is that variances are supposed to be granted for permitted uses, and this is a conditional use. So it would really have to be an extraordinary case to me to grant a variance to a condition on a conditional use rather than a permitted use. So that's it for my comments.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal?
There is one other item in there. There is a 800-gallon cement septic system that's in the property, and that could be inspected and checked out to possibly be used for this camper. But if we move it as far away now as where it is, then it will be where we can't hook up to it because we're too far away from that septic system. And that was the other thing I guess I forgot to mention when I was up here before. But there is because that was a 2-bedroom trailer that he had in there, and there was an 800-gallon cement septic system that was installed in there before, and that would have to be, it's been not used for a while, it would have to be inspected. But that pipe is just a little bit straight south of where the camper is setting now. That's where the pipe comes. There was a flag there with where the 4-inch pipe comes up out of the ground over there. And this was the other reason of keeping it up even possibly closer than what the 60 feet makes to, because you do not, with a camper trailer, you wouldn't have as much water to flush everything like you do with a permanent residence. And there's no well out there, and it would be the water that they bring in. And if they wanted to use the septic system, then that wouldn't be feasible that they could even use the sanitary system that's there.
What happened to the well that was there?
Huh?
What happened to the well that was there?
That was a driven point at the time, and count of other well things and stuff put in, we pulled it, so for using other stuff that was being built at the time in there.
Okay.
When we got the other wells put in.
Thank you.
And you haven't had the septic system evaluated yet, right?
Pardon me?
You haven't had the septic system evaluated.
Well, not for now, because we're just seeing what's going to happen with this. If this isn't going to let us be any closer, why evaluate it? I guess that was what we looked at.
Thank you. Next variance to be considered, Ted Reichenberger and Nicole Lane, Berlin, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-828, paragraph B and C of the Washare County zoning code to install a second driveway coming to within 280 feet of an existing driveway on the same parcel. One driveway per parcel allowed and 500-foot spacing required in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 2.1-acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 5284, subject to easement, being part of the west one half of the southwest one quarter, Section 29, Town of Poisippi, N3004, State Road 49. And Ted is here. Would you state your name for the record, please, Ted?
Ted Regenberger.
Okay, Ted. Anything further to add at this time? Otherwise, we got some general questions.
I'm pretty much just, I'm looking for this easement because I started a business hauling, transporting cars, and I purchased an 18-wheeler semi to do this with, and my existing driveway is narrow, and it's next to my house, and backing that in off the road is not exactly a time. I've already stopped an ambulance backing my truck in once, so that kind of gave me the push to maybe start thinking about doing this other driveway to make it a little safer for everybody.
Okay. Just some general questions then. Recent survey, or are you sure of the lot lines?
The survey was last done, we believe it was the fall of 2008.
Okay. And you're sure, or you know where the lines are? The proposing second driveway on your parcel on the state road, is that correct? Okay. And you cannot meet the spacing from your own driveway either? Okay. Have you talked to the town board and the state DOT about this, Ted?
Yeah, I've talked to the town board.
Okay.
They were all in agreement.
Okay. The state indicated whether you would need a culvert there? You will anyways, yeah. You told us that it's for safety purposes and that's probably the safest spot on the parcel.
Yeah, there's a hill crest at that point, and where I back up now, the cars might be able to see me, but I can't see cars until they just come over that crest. Where I'm proposing to put it is on top of that crest. You can see all the way to the white church on the other side of the hill and all the way down 49.
With this second driveway, are you gonna have enough room to make a turn, or are you gonna go around the barn, or?
Nope, I have enough room in front of the barn. I'm gonna gravel the whole area out and make it one large turnaround.
Okay.
So I'm gonna drive straight off of 49.
And so you'll be able to drive in and drive out?
Drive out.
Okay. Have you considered other options? You don't have any. You're so limited in space there that, okay. Any other committee questions?
Well, do you know what permits you're gonna have to get if it's approved? You know, from the DOT?
From the DOT, I know I have to buy a certain sized culvert.
Okay.
It has to be I think it's a 32-inch culvert for that area. And then it has to have crusher run over the culvert and then 3/4 run over that.
So you know some of the stuff already, yeah, okay.
Have you talked to someone at DOT?
I've talked to people that in the county that work for the county. They've told me that when you put a driveway in, it's pretty much standard for the culvert.
They didn't respond to us.
Unusual that the state didn't respond to us, but, any other committee questions?
Have you contacted the state directly? How, come on up.
Don't be bashful.
State your name.
Nicole Reichenberger.
So you have
I have
contacted the
been in
state.
contact via phone, emails, back and forth. Are there correspondences where they're part of, they haven't sent anything to you? Okay, they were
No,
gonna
and
do that.
I think that's odd, so.
It is odd.
We send them a notice too, so.
Right. I have no idea.
But-
So I have been in correspondence
did they-
numerous times.
Did they
They
give
said
any
so
indication
they
of?
were gonna have someone come out and look at it. They were gonna have an engineer come out just to make sure that where it's located, that it would be suffice for safety purposes.
Of course, they might not come out and it's approved too, so.
Oh, that could be a
Usually they do though and comment, so.
Any other questions?
How long you been on that property now?
2004.
And you weren't in the trucking business when you bought it? So that's the problem here?
Yes.
And the safety on the highway? Okay.
Did you research it back? There was a culvert there at one time. Okay.
He's got a question. Are Nicole Reichenberger and Nicole Lane the same person?
That's, yes, correct. That's my maiden name. I don't know.
Because I see one place is one way and one another.
Yeah, I'm Nicole Reichenberger since 2009.
Congratulations.
Okay, you can have a seat.
Right, thank you.
Correspondence?
I spoke to the town chairman. Larry Albright called and spoke to me on July 12th. He said the town board had met the previous night and discussed the Reichenberger Lane variance request, and he wanted the board to know that the town is not opposed to the request for a driveway variance in the town of Hoysippy. Larry went on to say that the town feels an approval is warranted for safety reasons alone. I think he did even mention he was plowing snow one day and came off Buttercup onto 49 and had to wait for you too. So he was well aware of the issues with backing in off the state road. And then there's a letter that Larry signed that was from Nicole and Ted, that it was actually written to you guys, and then he signed it about what they were going to do. So if you got it, I will not waste time reading that part. And then there was another one that the Reichenbergers prepared that said, "Hi neighbors, we are looking to get a variance through the county to add a second driveway in front of our barn to park our semi on. Then we can drive in and out and never have to back onto Highway 49. Just makes sense this would be the safest option for everyone. If you agree with this, please sign below by your name. And thanks for your time." And that was signed by somebody but Sandra Butt. N3032 Highway 49, Lynn Engel, N2981 Highway 49, and Louis Schrader, N2922 Highway 49. So that is it for correspondence, and no one registered.
Staff comments?
So we've got another variance. They still have to meet the 3 reasons that statutorily they need to meet to be granted a variance, that the code is unnecessarily burdensome, and that the landowner is not able to enact a permitted use without a relaxation of the dimensional standard. 2, there are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standard. And 3, if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. And it is their responsibility to present the application. When the board visited the property, they noted that the current driveway has limited room for turning around, that it would be much safer if large vehicles were not backing onto or off from the state highway, and that there was historically a driveway to the south to serve the barn, but it was removed when the highway was redone.
So it's not a closed meeting?
That's it for my comments.
Okay, you don't have anything in rebuttal, so.
I did talk to Walter Waltz, because he has actually a right-of-way through my existing driveway to get to his fields. And we came to a gentleman's agreement that if I was going to get this variance to put the second driveway in, he would also use that to go to and from his fields at a safer area up there instead of using my driveway. So he also agrees to that idea.
Okay.
Just for the record, between the house and that pole barn that's the neighbor owns or farmer owns, there's no room for you to turn around in there now, is there?
I tried once and it wasn't pretty.
I looked when we were there, and I just thought that I don't know how you would do it. I mean, without putting a dent in the house and a dent in the barn.
Close to what I got to.
So that's why this request, because there's a small parking area by the house and you can't turn around. Okay.
Thank you. The next one, Doug Bocher, Watoma, Wisconsin, has withdrawn. Is there anyone here that has an interest in that property?
I don't think so.
Okay, then we'll just skip it. Next one, Eric and Amanda Kopp, Brooklyn, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-826, paragraph B of the Washera County zoning code to construct a 27 by 33, 1.5-story single-family dwelling with walkout basement with a 5 by 8 covered entry, a 12 by 12 covered deck, and an approximate 8 by 27 open deck, coming to within 27 feet of the right-of-way of Windrow Drive, 30-foot setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, an approximate .46-acre parcel of land being part of Lot 12 of Spring Hills subdivision plat, being part of Government Lot 3, Section 23, Town of Marion, Spring Lake, Windwood Drive. Applicant present. Come forward and state your name, please.
Eric Kopp.
Eric, anything further to add at this time, or that we should know?
I just wanted to have you check on there. I think it should be 21 feet within the setback, not 27.
21 feet of the right-of-way of Wind Road
Yes.
Drive. Correct, sorry.
Just a few things I want to add. Since I filed the application, we received a plan from Lear Plumbing for a septic system. And one of the hardships of this property is it's with the shoreline, the way it kind of comes in, and then the placement of Windwood Drive, or the placement of the road within the right-of-way. It kind of makes a smaller buildable area. And if we would have tried to build a structure that's kind of horizontal to the road, as opposed to vertical like for our plan, then we wouldn't leave very much area also for replaceable septic area. We'd be able to put a septic area in, but if we go the other way, it would just be much more limited for that. And then also, since then, I've also spoke with one of my neighbors, Claude Klund, and he's on the northwest side, and he was in support of our application. And I've also spoke with another neighbor about two properties down on the southeast or west side, Marty Wilkie, and she was in support of the application. And she also indicated that the Spring Lake Management District received notice about our application, and they supported that as well. Otherwise, I think that's all additionally I had to add.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Yes, the current one was as of June of this year.
And you know where all the lot lines are now and they're staked?
Yes, I do.
Have you talked to the town board about this?
Yeah, I had a telephone conversation with Gary Walecko of the town of Marion, and I explained the project to him, and he supported it, and also indicated that the town of Marion would support whatever decision the board made.
Okay. And how do you plan on dealing with stormwater runoff from the potential erosion?
Well, my contractor, he indicated he'd put up a silt fence, and he's got experience with building on lake properties. This would be my first, but so I'd rely on him for putting up all that kind of stuff. And then as far as the finished building, we'd have rain gutters installed to help with that problem.
Okay. What type of foundation will this be on?
Will it be a walkout basement?
Okay, so poured concrete?
Yeah, poured concrete, whatever the standard thickness
Okay.
is.
About how far above existing grade will the first floor elevation be?
When you mean the first floor, you don't mean the basement, do you? You mean
No.
the first floor? Well, from what I understand, the basement part would have to be 3 feet above the floodplain for, I think, insurance purposes. And then whatever the height on the plan would be, I think the basement ceiling height was going to be 8 feet, and then another foot, so 9 feet from the ground. I added it up correctly.
You're going to be raising it up 9 feet for the first?
Well, the first floor from grade.
Above the basement, you're saying? Are you,
Yeah, because the basement would have an 8-foot tall ceiling in it. And then the floor joist would be about, what, I think 12 inches or 11 and a half. I don't know, I'm kind of confused. Does that answer your question, or?
When you walk into the house,
Okay.
how much higher than the original height are you going to be? Are you going to have series of steps going up it? Are you going to bring in a lot of fill to?
Yeah, the entryway is going to have, it's hard to say it, I mean, it's going to have 3 or 4 or 5 steps on the side there. It ain't going to be just walking in right from ground level.
are you planning on bringing in a lot of fill to fill in around this too? Because it's going to be obviously sticking out of the ground a little bit, especially on the lake side?
That's what we're getting at is,
Yeah, okay.
are you going to stick this thing way up in the air and,
No, I mean, I don't know if you notice when you're out at the lot, as the floodplain comes in, as the lot comes in, there's like a ridge that goes up that's about 3 or 4 feet high. The basement walkout would be right up on that, because then it would be up out of the floodplain, and then it would
so there'd be fill have to go in on the sides, on both sides and on the road side, but there wouldn't, as far as I understand, there wouldn't be any fill on the lake side.
You sent us this picture of the house, is that accurate as to what you're still gonna do?
Yes.
I think he's talking about these steps here. And then you have the lower steps coming up from the floodplain area or from the lower level?
Well, yeah, for the screen porch there, those steps would still be up on the bottom of those steps would be on the ridge portion yet.
But on the side of this photo here, or this drawing, the house sits at the crest of this hill, probably at the top of where the basement would be.
Yes.
The top, is that accurate as how it's gonna be?
I haven't had anybody out there running survey lines or checking exact elevations, so I can't really answer that question.
All right.
The septic is going between the proposed house and the road then, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You are aware of the floodplain on the property then from what you're telling us, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you gonna do any filling in the floodplain area?
No, that's not in the plan.
Okay. Any other improvements planned at this time?
Right now, just the structure. Eventually in the future, we'd like to build a future garage. But based on what I've measured out and looked, I believe that would fall within buildable area.
Okay.
But just right now, it's just the building.
All other setbacks will be met then?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I interrupt a little bit?
Sure.
I'm noticing something. Is your deck going to be 75 feet from the lake?
Yes. I had the surveyor, he marked it all out based on the markings for the ordinary high water mark.
Okay.
And the corner of the steps that come down would be right on the 75-foot line.
But all of your deck needs to meet 75 feet too.
Well, I did an on-site inspection with Rick Ertl last year, and based on the neighboring properties, would be allowed.
Oh, is there an average?
Yeah, there'd be a 70-foot setback average. for the
Okay.
deck.
Okay, because all of a sudden I'm like,
Boss
that's not
is here.
75 back, so.
Good.
Okay. So it will meet the water setback, gotcha.
Yes, it will.
Okay. I was starting to have heart palpitations.
Did you ask him what the total height of the house was? What is the total height of?
It's right around 32 feet. I
Okay.
believe the limit's 35.
Right.
And your septic system is all laid out there between the house and the road then, is that correct?
Yes, per the plan created by Bob Lear.
Okay. You're gonna use the existing driveway, or you'll be using a new driveway?
We plan on using the existing driveway.
Okay. And there'll be enough room for parking, so you don't have to back out onto the road?
Yes.
And a turnaround and,
Yes, which also another reason why we proposed the building to point the direction it does, because it'll allow ample room to have a safe turnaround down there.
okay, and if approval were granted, when would you start this building project?
The last time I talked to my contractor a couple weeks ago, the earliest would be probably mid-September, would be the earliest he could start.
Okay.
With the hopes of getting it enclosed by wintertime.
Any other committee questions?
Is your name Amanda?
Was there talk out there about a garage? In the future?
Garage. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we had space on the side there to put a detached garage in the future.
But not at this time.
Not at this time.
And you know you'll need a permit for that.
Yes. Yep.
We had one last month. They didn't know they need a permit for a garage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Correspondence?
We have no correspondence and no one registered.
Staff comments?
Again, the board's looked at the site plan and all the data, visited the property, got a variance that needs to meet the three standards. They need to provide the burden of proof. When the board visited the property, they noted that the site was well staked out and that the location of the road and steep slopes along the road limit area for construction and a septic system. I think this one is fairly straightforward with construction outside of the floodplain, which is always good. And meeting all the other setbacks except for the road, fitting in that and, taking care of the driveway and getting the septic system in. Any appropriate mitigation that the board feels would certainly be good for the lake rather than a detriment. So I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Okay, that closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustment. Do you want to go right into business meeting, or